Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching this demo. My name is Corey Diatoma, and I'm an account representative at Leostream. And today's demo is really going to be focusing on the energy vertical itself. I'll be joined by Karen Gondoli, our CEO and Vice President of Product Management here at Leostream, and she'll talk to you about some of the benefits of using the Leostream product for VDI or remote access use cases in the industry vertical, and then dive into a demo of the Leostream platform itself. I will start us off with a brief introduction. For many years, Leostream has helped oil and gas companies, both at home and abroad, ensure that their geoscientists have access to the large data sets and E&P applications they need to get their jobs done. But this discussion isn't just about oil and gas companies. Energy applies to any company that caters to industries that keep the world running, such as nuclear, wind, and solar. All of the industries in the energy vertical face a similar challenge. How do you balance the needs of demanding end users with the complicated tasks of administering enterprise IT? Thankfully, we'll show you how Leostream can help by automating tasks for IT and securing access to data and resources for end users. Whether you're a solutions provider like our friends at GeoComputing, who build Leostream into their offering for the energy vertical, or an enterprise IT administrator tasked with providing the best performance for your remote users, let's look at how Leostream is here to help. Karen, do you want to take things away?
Sure do. Thanks, Corey. Okay, so before we start talking about a demo, let's talk a little bit about why would you want to do this? How can Leostream help you out? Well, if we look back, let's say 3 or so years, really nobody in oil and gas or the energy field was talking about moving to the cloud. And now you fast forward to today, and the cloud is very prevalent in those industries. And what we're seeing a lot of in particular is Azure. So the demo I'm going to show you today will focus kind of on using Azure. But why would you do this? Why should you move to the cloud if you haven't thought about it already? Well, really, what the cloud and using Leostream along with it allows you to do is combine technology and increase productivity in ways that can save a variety of different types of resources. Here I list 4. So, of course, everyone is always concerned about how do I save money? How do I lower my operating costs? How do I avoid buying expensive hardware, particularly if there are supply chain issues? Well, a move to the cloud and using Leostream to manage it gives you easy and automated ways to save money. So not only can you avoid buying hardware because you're going to burst up into the cloud, you can also share resources. So use your existing hardware, but share it across users, burst into the cloud, but do so in intelligent and automated ways so you don't have too much capacity spun up in the cloud at any point in time. It's all really about being able to manage compute costs in the cloud, and that's where Leostream can help you out. And it does that by automating a number of different mundane tasks, things like making sure the right number of machines are in your cloud account at 9 a.m. when users show up for work, making sure to power things down when users are done. You don't want your IT team to have to take their time to do these very simple tasks when Leostream can automate them for you. And that frees up your IT team's time for doing more important things like making sure Patrol is kept up to date, making sure your Windows security settings are accurate. Have your IT team focus on those types of operations and have the tasks related to managing access and keeping users productive handled by Leostream. Now, the third one here, I know we're talking about the energy vertical, but I'm talking about how do you actually save energy in your company? And really, this is about shrinking your data center because then you simply use less power. And that, of course, goes right back to point number 1, which is about money. If you can shrink your data center, you lower your power consumption, you lower your energy bills at your own company. And this is true in the cloud as well. If you provision resources only when needed, you're using less compute, you're saving energy and resources that way. And the last one, I say sanity, but really it's all about saving the sanity of your IT team because they have all of these concerns about the security of the systems, the usage, who's using what and from where. By putting Leostream as a front end to your cloud environment or your on-prem environment or your hybrid environment, you can ensure security, you have audit level tracking so you always know who is using what from when, and as a final plug, you can always find someone to help. Our professional services team is really great at helping you optimize your Leostream environment so you can ensure that it is as secure as possible and it is configured in a way that's going to optimize the usage of your resources while keeping your users productive and lowering your costs. So, all that said, let's look at it in action. And as I mentioned, we're going to focus on some Azure use cases. So this is going to look strange. I'm going to switch to sharing my screen, and what you're actually going to see first off is an incognito window, which you're probably wondering what that's about. So what I'm going to do first is show you kind of the end user process, and then we'll show how you can configure the Leostream connection broker to satisfy these workflows. But I'm right into an incognito mode because I'm going to go here to an IP address, and this happens to be my Leostream gateway. Believe it or not, that was the IP address of my Leostream gateway, and it forwarded my login to the connection broker, and the connection broker said, oh, you are set up to actually be required to log in via your Azure Active Directory account. So that's what you're seeing here. I got redirected to Azure AD, and then I'm going to go and remind myself of my password for Azure AD. So I can type it in here. And now, oh, I'll just say no there. And so now, as an end user, I was actually connected into the Leostream environment where I can connect to a session here. We do in Leostream, we're able to manage full virtual machines. And if you're working in Azure, we can also broker connections to AVD sessions, Azure Virtual Desktops. So that works great as well. So now let's switch over to this tab. So Leostream also supports username and password authentication. So that's how I'm going to log in here. Now for this particular user, what they're offered is actually it's a VM running up in Azure, a very powerful VM, and it is, for example, running Patrel or one of these other E&P applications that you might be using if you're in oil and gas, or maybe it's a simulation server or something else if you're in a different energy industry. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to this particular machine, and because this is a server that's used for running intense applications and doing some pretty graphic intense work, I'm actually launching TGX. TGX is from our partner Metdyne. It's a very good protocol, particularly for oil and gas and other energy applications where color is very important because it does support the 444 color, so you can avoid color bleed. And this really makes it great for you to be able to do the seismic analysis and the different things that you need to do. So there's my TGX session. I purposely open it up, not full screen. Obviously, you can change the resolution so this works perfectly across all your different monitors and looks seamless as if it's running local. But I did it that way so I could easily get back here, because what I want to do is refresh my list here, and then you'll see, well, I have a new link here, invite. TGX is a protocol that supports collaboration. So multiple users scattered across the world can actually view the same session and collaborate on it. So I can come in here and hit invite. And let's go ahead and invite me. Remember, I'm signed in still to that other session that I opened through the Incognito browser. Join my session. Being demanding, I'm not saying please. So here now I have my invitation so I can view it in case I've forgotten who I sent my invitation out to. I can cancel it if I've changed my mind. And now over in my incognito window, if I could just remember which one it is here. Now if I refresh that list, oh, there's the invitation. It pops up. I can view it, which just gives me information if I want to see that message that the user sent. There's my little join my session message, and I can connect to it. So now when I connect, I'm going to keep that. That was just downloading the TGX file, which will then launch the TGX sender. So now I'm going to log in as me. I got to remember my password here. Now if we look at what's going on in the background here, I had my TGX session for my Prime user, and I'm being asked, oh, do you want to actually allow this collaborator to come in? And so now you're going to see I have these two sessions, I should say. I logged in. This is the owner. So the owner can come in here and move the page around, double click on something. I know that's not exciting. It's just the trash can, but you see it on this other screen. But this is the collaborator's screen, and they don't actually have access. They're just viewing. And that's a setting that you can set. Is the collaborator allowed to edit the session along with the session owner, or are they just view only? So I happen to do view only. So you see it's nice and secure. I can see what's going on, but I can't actually interact with it. So I come back here to my main session, just log that out. Oh, actually, before I do that, let me show you one thing. This is it's an SSH session, obviously, but it's still the Leostream gateway. And so there's a neat little function here, Leostream gateway, CLI, and it has a number of different commands, but you can actually come in here and I can look at the connections that are currently going through the gateway. And so here you actually see that this TGX session is tunneling through the gateway. That's the private IP of the desktop in Azure. So the desktop itself is off of the internet. It's simply the connections being tunneled through the gateway there. If I log out here, the behind the scenes, Leostream's working its magic. It's going to close both the sessions. And then after the desktop is released, the connection in the gateway will go away. Just got to wait for the session to get released. It takes a couple minutes. There you go. A couple seconds. All right, so let's close all those. So how did we make this magic happen? Well, here I'm going to log in as the main administrator. And I'm just going to focus on a few things. I'm not going to run through the entire demo. Here you see the new dashboard that's in the latest release, so I can actually see a running tally of kind of, the volume of usage going on in my setup. Here, just to show you the authentication server, the only authentication server I actually have in this broker is Azure Active Directory for our Leostream domain. And I use the SAML protocol to integrate with that. And then I have two centers in here, one being just Azure US East, and then the AVD center, which allows me to manage sessions on Azure virtual desktops. But let's focus on pools. Let's talk about pools and provisioning. Because really one of the keys is that you want to make sure that your users are always productive, no matter what. And then your IT team has automated as much as possible. That keys for productivity and saving time there. So there's a few things I've done in pools and policies to help with that. First, I just created a nice pool of all my machines in Azure, and that's done very simply by just selecting the center as the pool definition. And then in there, I've got a couple things. I've got one, which I'm saying are my Patrol servers. And then I've got another pool, which I'm saying are my backup pools, are my backup desktops. And this pool is actually managed via provisioning. So it's automated the capacity. By default, it has one machine that's in there just in case somebody needs a backup desktop. And the whole idea with a backup pool is that if all the primary desktops are unavailable for whatever reason, the users failed over to the backup pool. And I'll show you how that's done in policies here in a second. But here I went ahead and enabled provisioning, and we've done a lot with Azure provisioning over the last few months, adding support for Azure galleries and ephemeral disks and things like that. But here I'm saying I want one machine in the pool, and I'm going to cap it at 5 so I don't over provision in my Azure account. And then I set all the different parameters, just like you would be doing within the Azure portal, but you set them up once here, and then Leostream will just kind of keep track of everything going forward as users log in and log out. So I put the machine in a particular group. I'm provisioning from an Azure gallery. You could also do it from a static image. In this case, I've done a gallery, and there's my gallery information there. And then I do mark it as deletable, because the whole idea with the backup pool is it's an emergency use. So once the emergency is over and the user logs out, I want Leostream to automatically delete that machine. So I'm going to skip down to policies now and just show you the policy that we have here. So this is the policy that was in play. And in here, it's offering a desktop from, by default, my Patrol servers, one machine from there. But it selects the backup pool. That's optional. You don't have to, but if you do want to offer a backup pool, you can set these values here to determine when the connection broker fails over to it. Perhaps the Leostream agent's not available, remote viewer port is down, TGX sender is frozen or something, or maybe the primary pool is just empty. You ran out of resources in that particular region. You want to fail the user over to a different region, perhaps. And then down here, First, I enabled collaboration. You saw that. You can do it with all users or even with different groups of users. So if you have users working on particular projects, you can limit who they're allowed to invite by, for example, project. And then the nice thing here, I can set different plans based on which pool, the primary or the backup, the user is being offered a desktop from. And we didn't talk about plans in this particular demo, but basically what these are sets of rules that determine how's the user going to get connected. Obviously, in this case, I wanted to use TGX. And then it's how is the connection broker managing power state and how long is the user allowed to use the machine once they're assigned to it, meaning at what point in time does it get released. Power control plans are great for controlling power state. So if you're working in a more persistent model, you don't want to use pools for provisioning to spin things up and terminate them. You can have a set number of machines and use power control plans to power them down when they're done. In this case, I'm not controlling power state on anything because what I'm actually doing in my backup pool is what I'm calling here a timed release and delete. So through the release plan for the backup pool, after the user logs out, it's going to wait for a certain amount of time, and then it's going to release the machine from the pool and delete it. And I put a time delay in there just in case the user needs to come back in and get something off the machine before you terminate it. And that's completely up to you. It's totally configurable. But that is the nice thing, is that you can change how the machine is managed based on whether it's the primary or the backup. And then these policies are assigned to users via, in this case, I'm passing groups back as through the SAML assertion that's coming from Azure AD, and I can use those groups to assign the different policies. Now you'll notice, just point this out, one thing to be aware if you are using Azure AD with Leostream is that it is the group ID that gets used here, not the nice friendly name. So just be aware of that. You need to type in the full ID. Now, on the sanity side of things, I did mention audit level tracking. Leostream tracks everything. So here on the log page, you can see everything that's going on. When did users log in? What kind of connection did they launch? Where are my Leostream agent notifications coming in? So you can see when users are logging out, if someone locked a machine even, you'll be able to see forwarding ports opening and closing on the gateway. So you always know that this is going on. You can actually send these notices to a syslog server. So if you want to use something like that to catch all the messages and then push them on to somebody to send notifications, or we do have a certain number of alerts that you can send just via email using Leostream itself. So maybe if the pool is empty, failed over to the backup pool, the user doesn't know anything happened, they just know they're still working, admin can get an email that says, hey, your primary pool is empty. Maybe you should look into why that happened. And even the emails that come out are customizable through the template structure in the connection broker. So much that you can do there. I think I will stop at that and pass you back over to Corey.
Thank you, Karen. If you are a value-added reseller, solutions provider, or IT administrator at an enterprise company tasked with building out either a VDI or remote access workflow, and you have any questions or want to start a POC, a proof of concept, of the Leostream platform, please contact sales@leostream.com. Thank you again for watching our demo on the energy vertical